So what exactly is autism spectrum? Because I hear people say you're on the spectrum.
It used to be called Asperger's.
Okay.
But that is no longer what it's called because to my knowledge, Asperger was a Nazi.
Okay. Not to cut you off, but were they people that you had relationships with? Was this in the workplace that you became difficult? Or is this people that you just have general interactions with?
These aren't people I've met.
So it's people...
The people who are saying these things about me have never met me.
And that's impacting you?
So I wasn't going to talk about the Amanda Seales Club Shay Shay interview because even though I don't hate Amanda Seales, I'm not sure if I could sit through 3 hours of her going back and forth with Shay Shay. I don't know if anyone's going to care about this video being made, but unfortunately I have seen some ignorant comments coming from people who have criticized Amanda Seales as well as praised her. And I just wanted to point some shit out.
Both. I'm gifted and autistic.
Yes, but Amanda, sometimes, just because you have a special gift, that doesn't mean that, you have a spectrum or you have just because you see things differently, it doesn't mean that you're on the spectrum or you...
This isn't related to simply how I see things. This is related to how my brain functions.
Yes. But just because your brain functions differently from, say, mine.
Yes.
So you feel just because your brain functions differently that's what caused it, or there's a clinical diagnosis that
there are clinical diagnoses
for you?
Yes, there are clinical diagnoses for autism. Yes.
Yeah, I know
when you take the...
So I first want to mention that I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who has been officially diagnosed with multiple learning disabilities and mental disorders, but I have not received an official autism diagnosis. However, there are reasons for that. Everything else I have been diagnosed with already affects my life to a similar way as someone who's on the spectrum. So much of the treatment I receive and the therapy I receive and the medication that I take is very similar to what somebody on the spectrum would take to help relieve their symptoms. I've also have had experiences from childhood to my adulthood that correlate with the symptoms and experiences of kids growing up with autism, such as being stuck in remedial or quote-unquote special classes as a kid, despite being told that I had a high IQ through test or whatever. I was constantly called slow by kids, fellow peers, and adults. I didn't start verbally speaking until a later age than other kids. I was about 4 to 5. And I've always felt as though I was being left behind, as if I couldn't catch up to the kids that I perceived as normal. And even as an adult, the other thing is that, so I was waitlisted to get tested for autism, but by the time my appointment was up, I had actually lost my engineering job and thus lost my insurance. And the price would have been $2,000 even with insurance, which I'm not even sure if I would have been able to pay that, but it was $6,000 without insurance, and I think was a low estimate. So it's difficult to afford. I don't know exactly how much it would have been for Amanda if it differs state by state, but all I know is that to get an official autism diagnosis is not the same as getting other learning disability or mental disorder diagnosis, because it's not just as easy as going to a psych and having them diagnose you. Even if the psych can see and tell that you have autism, they cannot officially diagnose you. You have to go to one of these facilities.
The fact that I have to doodle, I have to draw all the time, I have to be doing things all the time to be stimulated. It's literally called stimming.
Okay.
Like the fact that when I'm a baby, I have to rock, like in a child pose, like literally rock. And my mom would be like, why is she doing that? We find out later, this is stimming. This is her literally dealing with her anxiety in a self-soothing way.
Okay.
The fact that even little things like, if there was a bowl of peanuts right here, I would be lining them up. in a row. I'd be lining them up in a row. Like these are small things that are indicative of like your brain functions in a very particular way.
Right. Okay.
And that functionality also displays itself in your behavior, right? So it's also atypical to the way that our society functions.
I'm not here to debate whether or not somebody should self-diagnose if they haven't gone to a diagnosis facility or seen a psych. You know, I think Amanda mentioned to Shannon about the fact that Black women on the spectrum often don't receive the same medical attention or compassion that other races of women may receive in the medical world. So I can understand Amanda being frustrated when she feels as though her mental diagnosis, self-diagnosis, is invalid. Like I said, I'm not going to debate whether or not she has it, or whether or not you should be self-diagnosing, but I'm mentioning those previous points because there are reasons why there are issues when it comes to getting an autism diagnosis. However, we have to remember that sadly, for neurotypicals and even certain neurodivergent individuals, it's very difficult for people to understand what it's like to have a certain mental disability when they've never had to live with it or live around it. So I don't think it's right for people to make ignorant comments about one's mental state, whether to claim they have a certain disability or to invalidate their diagnosis. But the unfortunate thing is that people are ignorant, and people will always make ignorant statements about one's mental health. Most people lack nuance initially, and all you can do is stand in your truth. And the next point that I wanted to discuss regarding the interview is the fact that Amanda Seales keeps bringing up the Issa Rae publicist incident. And here's something that I'm going to say that I think we all know. The media elites, no matter what race they are not your friends, and they will never be true allies.
And I had a little rail, and he says that Issa is like most of her set is with women, camera people, et cetera, and that she's very empowering to women.
Oh, I disagree. She wasn't empowering to me. She didn't feel like she didn't feel like I deserved to be protected. I'm only giving I'm only giving a portion of the situation. Yeah. So, but that was my experience. Okay. And nonetheless, I have still always protected her because I felt like it was my responsibility to do so, but it is not.
I definitely think Amanda has every right to call out Issa Rae and the fact that Issa, as a boss, didn't protect Amanda's well-being or her position in her career from her publicist, you know, and the other people that had fucked Amanda over. But my issue with Amanda consistently bringing up the Issa Rae publicist incident is that she speaks about getting blackballed by the Black media elite specifically. And I really wish Amanda would focus on critiquing the class hierarchical system in which these media elites operate in. You know, do I think that Amanda was blackballed by some of these Black media outlets and Black elite stars? Yeah, I totally believe it. You know, I believe it because it has happened to other activists and journalists and people in the entertainment industry who have spoken out against issues within the Black community, such as featureism, colorism, texturism, issues of how Black men treat Black women, especially darker skinned Black women, as opposed to their lighter skinned counterparts. And even non-Black people have been blackballed by various different media outlets when they've spoken out against, Zionism, the state of Israel, genocide in Biden. So the issue in of itself isn't just the fact that these are black media outlets blackballing a woke black girl, and for no reason, because everyone who meets Amanda just loves her.
I got kicked out that Emmys party.
What'd you do to get kicked out the Emmys party? Damn, we can't take you nowhere. What'd you do?
I go to a lot of places because I'm lovable and people like me and I'm delightful. I am delightful.
The critique shouldn't be solely based on how dare these black elites do this to other black people. The conversation should be in regards to the fact that the bourgeoisie and these elites are allowed to prevent people from receiving opportunities or being allowed to exist in spaces just because they don't like them, just because they don't like what they believe in or who they want to support. Abuse of power among the bourgeoisie, especially from these media entertainment elites, it's a collective problem and needs to be first critiqued from a class-conscious lens rather than solely focusing on race. Because it does not matter if these elites are black or white or whatever race or ethnicity or culture they're from, because their actions are reflective of a hierarchical system that revels and benefits from class inequality. Never take the media elites by their word. Always judge them based on their actions or lack of action. So that was the gist of what I wanted to talk about. I'm probably going to forget something now and then remember later. Maybe I'll mention the comments or description. But yeah, that's all I have for today. So I may want to post, I don't know if I want to post something political or something fun like fear and hunger. But yeah, remember to be kind to people until they give you a reason not to. And remember to show solidarity with the pro-Palestine protesters at your local college campus. Bye ho.